Welcome back. Well, the MarketMobile schedule is out, and we've got Kaitrin and Shannon here to tell us all about it. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having us.
It's so exciting. This is such a great initiative. And of course, you're going to 8 communities around Ottawa, and it's open for everybody.
It is, yeah.
But where did the idea come from of the MarketMobile?
Well, there was a collective working group that started with a number of partners across the city, and this was actually about 5 years ago. And what we had identified was that we needed to have more accessible and affordable food in Ottawa and for everyone. And so we came together with a number of partners and we decided, let's hit the ground running and let's make something happen. So we started with a project called the Good Food Markets, which were pop-up markets in a number of different communities. And essentially what they were just community-run markets where everybody could come and purchase food. And they were all not-for-profit. So the idea was just getting that food into the community. And we decided as a group that that was great, but we want to build on that and we want to try something big and fun and exciting. We went to other cities and learned about what they did and brought the model back here to Ottawa of the mobile market. We started on an OC Transpo bus, really grassroots, lugging plywood boards on and a lot of heavy lifting, and it was a fun pilot. We did that for 6 months. And then we decided after that we need something a little bit more tangible.
Like my own truck.
Our own truck,
Exactly.
our own
Infrastructure,
And we were fortunate enough to be able to participate in 2015 in the New Leaf Community Challenge. And we were the successful recipients of a grant from that, which was a really big deal for us and enabled us to purchase the truck and trailer, which I believe we're going to have some shots of.
We have it right now.
Awesome. There she is. And then also hire full-time staff. So Shannon, our project officer, which has been a godsend, and as well as our drivers, 2 part-time drivers.
Now, one of the things that we were talking about before the show was this whole idea of an urban food desert. And
Absolutely.
you know, we were saying that this is not limited to low-income communities or supported communities. I live in a food desert. I mean, I live in a wealthy suburb, well, a village, but there's no, like, you have to drive 15 minutes to get fresh vegetables as a result. So how do you define the parameters of what you're doing?
Yeah, so we did when we built the MarketMobile schedule, something that we definitely looked at was the distance that communities were to a grocery store. So sort of 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer. You know, it's one thing if you have access to a vehicle, no problem to hop in the car. But a lot of times people don't have that luxury, right? So they're relying on public transit to access the grocery store, or in your case, you were saying it's several kilometers away. So to be able to bring the fresh food at affordable prices to people has just been amazing. People are so grateful when they see us coming. They want to eat those type of food and be able to access them more easily. And often, you know, there's a barrier, the distance, and you know, the reality is grocery stores can't necessarily be, you know, every kilometer. They have to be a little bit strategic in their planning. So that's sort of where we're able to come in and serve people that are living in these food deserts.
And do you remember that whole debate over Bushies? Right?
Yes.
It closed down on Elgin Street. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's a perfect example. And there was all this conversation about how all of these places are being replaced by restaurants and coffee shops, and which is great and wonderful for making a lovely urban whatever, but you know, the people living in those communities in Centertown, where are they going to get their stuff, right? They have to go all the way to the end of Elgin Street to the Loblaws there.
And one of the things that I think we really like to talk about is sort of those stories and those experiences of people. And if you can imagine someone who may have physical limitations, trying to get out in the winter, we all know how the sidewalks can be with the snow and the ice, or if you're a parent with children, you're trying to navigate the bus with bags of groceries. Like, there's so many limitations to being able to access that fresh produce. And what we're finding is that in communities that don't have grocery stores, often people are going without, and that's a problem.
And I like the point that you're saying fresh produce, because the other thing too is getting to a corner store or a grocery store and that does not offer it, and people don't know what's in season. So you have great contributors to the market. So those are local farmers, or?
Right now, obviously it's the winter season in Ottawa, so we're accessing food from 2 different places. So one is the Community Food Hub, and it's an initiative, a joint initiative with North House Foods and Just Foods as well. So they're one of our produce wholesalers, and then Loblaws Rito as well. We have a partnership with them, so we get their wholesale plus 5%. So from both of those suppliers is top quality produce at a very affordable price as well. So we're able to pass those savings on to our customers. And so we're about 20-25% less expensive than the grocery store. And it's all, as I mentioned, top quality produce. It's not seconds.
Right. Yeah. And here's the other thing is that the communities that you're going into, there's going to be a lot of immigrant population. And they would love, I'm sure, nothing more than to have fresh produce to make the food that they're used to.
Absolutely.
And as opposed to like having a can of green beans or
absolutely.
whatever,
And that's very important to our initiative as well, is that we do stock culturally appropriate food. So, based on the needs of that neighborhood. So we have some neighborhoods where, mangoes just fly off the shelf, lemon, limes, all the tropical things, ginger, cilantro. So as you mentioned, right, having foods that people are familiar with. We often take for granted, in Canada, that we know what raspberries are, we know what butternut squash is, and often if those are not foods that people are eating from the culture that they come from, it's an introduction for them. So having some familiarity in the products that we do carry as well.
Yeah. So when you get to the, do you need cash? Do you take credit? How do you pay for all of it?
Good question, Jules.
Yeah, I know it because I'm going. I've got the schedule here.
Right now we're cash only, and just because for us on the logistics end of that, it's making that simple for us. But we are going to be exploring other options in terms of maybe getting a cube or something to take credit or debit, because we know sometimes that can be a barrier for people. People aren't necessarily getting cash all the time.
Everyone knows where they go to a market that they need to bring cash. So
for now we're cash only.
Coming to us. I think we're okay to bring
and
some
something
cash.
new that we're hoping to launch this spring as well is a buy one give one initiative. So people, when they come to a community, they could buy, for example, you could buy a broccoli for yourself, and then you could buy another broccoli for someone else in need, and we'll post it on the board.
I love it.
As well.
So people can find out about that. Well, listen, ladies, Shannon and Kaitrin, thank you so much for coming on the time.
Make sure you get to your market, and we've got the schedule. It's online, and don't go away. We'll be right back because the Antique Show is in town. Great.